Good evening, and I would like to thank you all very much for joining us tonight for our very first virtual Lingap Center open house. I'm John Drake, and I'm the president and founder of the Lingap Children's Foundation. And we are really very excited about tonight. We hope that you're going to find it to be fun, interesting, and exciting, and informative. We're going to be sharing a lot of information with you tonight. And so if you miss any of it, this broadcast is being recorded and it'll be posted on our website probably Monday evening. What I thought you might like to see is to just realize that there's a whole lot more that goes into running a project like the Lingap Center than just taking care of a whole bunch of children in need. So we thought that tonight we might be able to give you a little look behind the scenes and let you know what all is involved in it. But before I begin, for those of you who might be new to us, I thought I should tell you a little bit about the project. Our operating entity is the Lingap Center, located in Toledo City, Cebu, in the Philippines. It's home to 100 children, and all of the kids are victims of financial neglect, abuse, exploitation, or something of that nature. Many of them were simply abandoned. My wife, Judy, will be telling you a little bit more about the kids a little bit later on, but I will add that since we opened the new center in 2006, somewhere between 500 and 600 children have received some level of support from the center. All of the kids are very active in church, and thus far, we have had 32 college or vocational graduates. They're cared for by a loving staff of 24 social workers, house parents, cooks, maintenance man, and so on. We have 3 musical groups at the center. One is a string ensemble. The second is the Lingap Children's Choir. And the third, since they're all Filipinos and Filipinos love to sing, all of the kids like to sing. And they have been preparing and working hard on a little presentation for you tonight that I'd like to play for you right now. It's all of the Lingap kids singing Hello from My Heart. As you might expect, tonight is a big event for the kids at the center, and they're all watching this live. And so to all of you kids who made this possible for us tonight, thank you so much. That was terrific. It really was. One of the very first questions that I'm asked these days is, how are the kids and the staff doing in the face of the ongoing COVID pandemic? Well, I'm happy to tell you that all of the kids and the staff are safe and healthy. As of Friday, August 20th, the staff have all completed their vaccinations. So all the staff are vaccinated. And thank God, the only medical problem that we've had in the last year and a half is one broken arm. And I'm very happy to tell you that he was able to live through it and tell about it. So we've been pretty lucky. But it seems that COVID is spiking again in the Philippines. And not all of the extended Lingap family, some of our relatives, some of our Philippine trustees have not been so fortunate. And so I would like to ask that all of you please keep the extended Lingap Center family in your prayers. They really need it. The second question that I'm asked is, what's life like at the Lingap Center? What do the kids do? What's the building like? And so I thought tonight I would ask Jojin Ladroma, who is the Lingap Center manager, to give you a little bit of a tour of our facility. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jojin Ladroma. Jojin?
Hello everyone, this is Jojin Ladroma, Center Manager of Lingap Center for 11 years. I'm going to give you a quick tour of the facility. Welcome. From the driveway, it will lead you to our playground. Aside from playing ball games, the court also serves as our venue for big events like Honor Society and Living Rosary. As we enter the old building, first up is the administrative office. We are outside of the admin office, so all paperwork are being conducted.
After safety and security, the ultimate goal and measure of the Lingap Center is the enhancement of the capacities of the poorest and most vulnerable of the Philippine society.
Currently, Lingap Center has 5 registered social workers, 10 house parents. These include a registered nurse, 2 cooks, 3 watchmen, 1 maintenance personnel, 6 part-timers, an accountant, counselor, and 4 tutors. We also have Merlita Barcenas, our administrative clerk.
Hi, I'm Merly Barcenas, administrative clerk for 15 years. Our recent approved tax exemptions was filed last July 2009 and we got it last March 2021. It takes 11 years to have it.
Let's proceed to the kitchen. So welcome to our kitchen. As you see, our baking team are preparing our breads for today. We have 2 cooks right now. Usually they wake up at around 4 a.m. in the morning and they prepare 3 meals a day plus 2 snacks, and each day we consume 1 sack of rice. This sack of rice contains 50 kilograms or 110 pounds, amounting to 2,500 per sack or $50 per sack. 1 sack can cook for about 5 meals. How the children help? Our children are assigned into specific groups, and one of the groups are assigned into the kitchen. They help the cook in preparing our vegetables, learn how to cook the rice, their bayan, and including our baking team. They're the ones who help everything, maintain everything, that is cleanliness. In here, this area here is where we eat. It also serves as our socialization area. This is where we also say our rosary and Friday night TV viewing. The success of the Lingap program is reflected on this wall, as we already have 30 graduates from the educational program. Some graduated from 4 years bachelor's degree, while others graduated in technical vocational courses. This is the incentive when the children do well in school. This is the atrium. The last room on the left is where our clinic is located, and in between the boys and girls room is the house parent quarter. We are now here at the children's quarter. On the left is the girls room and on the right is the boys room. Approximately we can cater 132 children. So each room has individual toilets. It can occupy 8 children per room. This is now our clinic. This is where we place our children each time they have fever, cough, or they would ask medicine. So this is John Ryan Batulia.
Hi, I'm John Ryan and I've been with the center since I was 5 and I just graduated last 2019 and I became the center nurse since last year.
We are now at the house parents quarter, and this is how we distribute the immediate and school supply of the children. The back portion of the atrium leads you to our laundry and clothesline area.
Hi!
So we are now at the Payag. This is where our children play. They tend to come here just to get out of the noise of the center, relax, and most of the time our social workers are here to conduct counseling. Welcome to our garden. This is how the children prepare our garden for the planting season. As you can see, everyone is in full cooperation. Together with their house parent, they are assigned to specific plot to cultivate. Found in our garden are different kinds of vegetables. We also have bananas, jackfruit, and our delicious native mangoes. Whatever produce in our garden is being served in the kitchen. We also have ornamental plants like the orchids. Right beside the old building is the new Lingap Learning Center. Located in this building is the spacious library. This is where our English, math, and other tutorial classes are conducted. Choir and string ensemble also do their online classes and practices every Sunday here.
Aim high to succeed. First of all, people do not aim high because they are afraid of their own success. It might be a starting statement, but it is true. I have met many who thought that to succeed is a crime.
Beside the library is the computer room. We have 12 computers. This room, as well as other areas of the Lingap facility, is secured with CCTV cameras. Children who wish to use the computers have individual booklets and must seek the approval of the house parent on duty for monitoring and safety purposes. There are 4 rooms for our independent living or those who are 18 years old adult who are still in our educational program. In this building, we also have the storage and maintenance room. Our young adults are being trained to assist our maintenance personnel. So this ends our quick tour of the facility. Thank you everyone for all your support. I hope one day you'll soon visit us.
Well, I hope you now have a little bit of an idea of what life is like at the Lingap Center. It really is a wonderful place, and I absolutely love it over there. At this point, I'm going to ask my wife, Judy, to tell you a little bit about the Lingap Project itself. She's been with me, as you might expect, since the very beginning of this thing, when it was just an idea, kind of a crazy idea, and she's been with me every step of the way. We couldn't do it without her. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Judy. Judy?
Good evening. It's so nice to be here with you tonight. I am John Drake's wife, Judy, and I have walked with John on the Lingap Project since its inception in 2003. I have been to the old Lingap Center, which was a converted pig slaughterhouse where I saw children so excited to have visitors. However, their living conditions were alarming. As I reflect on days gone by, I think about Arlene Zambo, the mayor of Toledo City at that time, and what determination she had to try her best to find a way to give these children a better life, better living conditions, and some hope rather than from existing day to day. She mustered up the courage to ask John to renovate and run the Lingap Center. What an incredible request! But little did we know on that day that Arlene and John would join together to make a better life for these kids. The one thing I hope you take away from tonight's presentation is that how thankful we are for your support. I have seen firsthand the difference in the lives of these children, and this has happened only because you cared. Looking back on 2003, Monetta Har, a writer for the Jackson, Michigan Citizens Patriot, wrote an article about John titled Blindsided by a Vision. This was the impetus of bigger things to come. A Brownie troop of young girls from Hanover, Michigan, collected pop cans that became our first fundraiser. The girls are now grown women, and my hope is that they know how important that fundraiser was for us. From that, our local Filipino community in Jackson, Michigan, held a fundraiser titled Hearts for Orphans, a dinner and auction. That event carried on for 10 years. Since that time, John has had speaking engagements for churches, schools, sororities, and civic organizations, as well as small groups to hear about the Lingap story. We have been awarded grants for specific projects by very generous people, and the Place at the Table sponsorship program is the backbone of our budget. Today, our constituents come from all over the United States, including benefactors from foreign countries. You together have formed the Lingap family. Eileen and Ryan, who are brother and sister and lived at the old Lingap Center, are now young adults. Eileen is married and has a little boy of her own. She sends us pictures of this adorable baby. Today, Ryan is an RN and is our Lingap Center nurse. Vincent was the Lingap Center in-house barber, and he and Roxanne have a little girl of their own. Roxanne is an accountant, and Vincent works for a car dealership in Cebu City. Marmy works for Norwegian Cruise Lines and has traveled the world. When Rona was in college studying agriculture, she had an internship in the Netherlands. You have touched the lives of so many young people in such a profound way. Just know the significant impact you have made on their lives. It is huge. At the old Lingap Center, many of the children did not go to school because they did not have a proper uniform or documentation to meet school requirements. At the new Lingap Center, school is mandatory. They now have uniforms, proper school supplies, and social workers who work tirelessly so each ward has proper identification papers. At first, attending school each and every day was a difficult concept for some of the children to comprehend. I can remember the days when the children would walk up the path which rambled alongside the Lingap Center to the school close by. Ken Omar would be right in that line, wearing his uniform that was neat and clean and school bag slung over his back. As soon as he was out of sight, he would veer off the path to spend time in town. He then would return to the Lingap Center for lunch with the rest of the wards, just like he had been at school all morning. Ken Omar ended up being one of the brightest students, but was not sure about this education thing. During report card time, if John is at the Lingap Center, he reviews their report cards with the kids. The kids are a bit nervous and respond, "Yes, Tito John, I will try my very best," and that is all we ask. The children eagerly attend church on Sunday. They are active members as acolytes, choir members. They clean the church and celebrate and participate in religious feasts and holy days. At the center, the children participate in a morning of reflection time where a specific Bible verse or story is read, and a member from each room talks about how this reading applies to their life. It can be a very deep and emotional time while growing in faith. These children are nurtured under the care of a loving staff. They learn life skills such as how to do laundry, cooking, caring for their environment, and for each other. We hope to plant the seed so these young people will understand what it means to be a responsible citizen in the community in which they live. Not every story is a success story, but over 500 children have received some type of service through the Lingap Center, and they all know that there are people in this world that truly care about them. Once again, please know how important and vital your support is. You have made a difference and continue to touch the lives of children who rely on others for their needs. God bless each and every one of you. And I will close with a short saying, and unfortunately I don't know who the author is, but it goes like this. Your friendship is a special gift, generously given, happily accepted, and deeply appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy, very, very much. I could not have done this project without Judy. Thank you. At the beginning of this webinar, I mentioned that there's a whole lot more to taking to the Lingap Project than just taking care of a whole bunch of kids. And so I thought what I might do now is give you a little look into the business side of it. And so I'm going to start with myself. What is my job? My job has three parts to it. The first is administrative in nature. A few years ago, the board of directors and I decided to outsource some of the routine administration to an organization in Plymouth, Michigan by the name of Financial One Accounting Incorporated. And we have a young man by the name of Andy Cole who helps us. I could not keep up with everything that has going on without Andy's help. He takes care of our tax filings. He works with the audit committee and does all kinds of licensing stuff for us. He's been just tremendous. But as you know, the Lingap board pays for all administrative expenses, including the outsourcing of the admin responsibilities, so that 100% of your donations go to the kids and not to paying for corporate overheads. The second part of my job is fundraising and communicating with all of you. We do this through speaking engagements, through my periodic update letters, and other events like our river cruises, the European river cruises that we did a couple of years ago. But most of our fundraising comes through our supporters. It's a very grassroots organization, And you are the ones that have helped us to do our fundraising. You tell the story to your friends, to your family, and so on. And that's how we grow. We do not have a marketing budget. We spend nothing on marketing, nothing at all. It is all done by ourselves and through you, our supporters. The third part of our job, of my job anyway, is on-site management in the Philippines. On pre-COVID days, I used to visit the Lingap Center 6 or even possibly 7 times a year. As you might expect, the staff over there, being social workers and house parents, are not familiar with American management practices. And so what I would do is I would go over and I would work with the staff to teach them some best practices, something that was new to them. But I have to tell you that they have picked it up and have done a fabulous, fabulous job. Even today, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, I communicate with them every single day by email. We do Zoom meetings, and actually, I talk with them probably almost on an hourly basis. But I have to admit that I'm very anxious for the country to open up again so that I can get back over there soon. We are incorporated as a tax-exempt organization in both the United States and in the Philippines. As a result, we have 2 separate and independent boards of directors. For this webinar, I'm only going to speak about the U.S. board, but in future webinars, I hope to be able to fill you in more on the Philippine board. Here in the U.S., our board includes 8 individuals, including myself. We're assisted, of course, by Judy and my son, Geoff. The primary focus of the U.S. board is financial oversight and as a sounding board to make sure that we remain focused on our mission, which is to provide a safe haven for children in need. The Philippine board, on the other hand, ensures that we remain in compliance with Philippine laws and Philippine customs. Each of our board members brings a very unique perspective to the party, such as, for example, extensive international experience, deep educational background, medical knowledge, experience on other nonprofit boards, or in-depth financial acumen. You should know that no one on the board receives any compensation of any kind. In fact, they are not even reimbursed for Lingap-related expenses. And at the same time, they are among our largest donors. Additionally, I have to admit that they're among my closest personal friends. Our board members include Brian Borque, a CPA and corporate controller for a Houston-based independent oil and gas company in Sugar Land, Texas. Dr. Jay Burnett, a surgeon from Cartersville, Georgia. Rick Higdon, a semi-retired executive in the technology industry from Roswell, Georgia. Dave Richmond, president of Richmond Brothers Financial Services in Jackson, Michigan. Janie Walsh, a former member of several nonprofit boards, including the US-based Catholic Charities from Chicago, Illinois. And Joe Walsh, he's the retired president of Legacy Detroit Medical Center. And prior to that, he was a business consultant with CMS Energy. And earlier, president of Ford Credit for all of Asia and the Pacific. And finally, Father Geoff Rose, who's the president of St. Francis de Sales School in Toledo, Ohio. And of course, me. And I'm a retired senior vice president of human resources with Consumers Energy and CMS Energy headquartered in Jackson, Michigan. All of these individuals give us what I think is probably one of the strongest and most dynamic boards that we could ever possibly have put together. As I mentioned, I really, truly do consider all of them to be my closest friends. Tonight, I'm going to introduce you to 4 of them. First, I would like to introduce Brian Borque. Brian is going to share a little bit about the Lingap Center's operating budget with you. Many of you have asked me, what is your financial support used for? Where does it go? Why do you need it? So I think Brian may be able to answer some of that for you. So here's Brian Borque. Brian?
Thanks, John. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Borque. I'm one of the members of the board of directors of the Lingap Foundation. I've been a CPA in Texas for almost 40 years, and I'm the controller of an independent energy company in Houston. I've been on the Lingap Board for 4 years, so since 2017, and I've served on other not-for-profit boards in the past. I visited the center twice, once in 2016 and again in 2019. One of the functions that I serve on the board is as the chair of the audit committee. I, along with Rick Higdon, who you'll be hearing from in a few minutes, assist John in the selection of the independent auditor and reviewing all important audit communications. We also assist in reviewing and advising on the adequacy of financial and accounting controls. We engage a CPA in the Philippines who assists us with financial statement preparation, bookkeeping, and also oversight over financial and accounting controls at the center. One of the most important controls that we have is that we only transfer funds to the Philippines on a quarterly basis, and that's for the next quarter's cash needs. The board of directors reviews the center's budget every year, and every year the center has come in under budget on expenses. I'd like to remind everyone that the board pays 100% of all U.S. administrative expenses. These are things like audit fees, tax return preparation fees, postage, like for all the newsletters that John sends out, and John's travel expenses for Lingap business, both here in the United States and to and from the Philippines. It's probably one of the biggest reasons I joined the board. Speaking of the center's budget, the center operates on an annual budget of about $375,000 US dollars. That equates to about 18 million Filipino pesos at a 48 peso to $1 ratio. Of that $375,000, almost 45% goes to pay salaries of direct support staff. Staff like house parents and social workers and the chef. Almost 20% goes for food, and a little over 10% goes for education, both in public schools and in private schools. That leaves a little less than 30% that falls into a lot of different categories. The budget is very detailed. Well, that's all I have on the budget. I hope it gives you a good picture of our efficiency and the oversight that exists. So I'm going to turn it back over to John.
Thanks, Brian. You know, we really are very, very fortunate to have Brian with us. He is truly a blessing, and he asks a lot of hard questions, very hard questions. I would also like to add, though, that the Lingap Center, the Lingap Children's Foundation, has no debt of any kind, and we never have, and we never will. I've now asked Rick Higdon to talk to you a little bit about our Place at the Table recurring sponsorship program. This is the program that keeps us running on a day-to-day basis, and it is really critical to our long-term sustainability. So with that, I'd like to introduce Rick Higdon.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being part of this Lingap story today. My name is Rick Higdon, and I've had the honor of being a Lingap board member for the past 6 years. I've spent more than 30 years working in the technology industry, managing a number of organizations, and also founded a technology services company that had operations in 3 countries. I'm now semi-retired and serve as the board chair of Brescia University in Owensboro, Kentucky. I was first introduced to John Drake about 8 or 9 years ago by Monsignor Pat Bishop, who at the time was our pastor at Transfiguration Catholic Church in Marietta, Georgia. Father Pat thought John and I would have common interest in that we had both worked internationally in our careers. And yes, while I spent my career traveling across the globe, no one during those travels ever asked me to start an orphanage. But even so, John and I did indeed have a lot in common and had a lot of shared experiences. And as I wound down my career, he helped counsel me on how to transition toward a meaningful retirement, which led me to Lingap, which I must say is the most impactful thing I've ever been part of. So I would like to thank John, his wife Judy, my fellow board members, as well as Jojin and all of the wonderful staff at the center for this miracle we call Lingap. Today I'd like to say a few words about our sponsorship program we call A Place at the Table, which is a way you can provide support and assistance directly to the children of Lingap. A Place at the Table program is where you provide financial support on a recurring monthly basis. But our sponsorship program is different than others. We're not asking for sponsorship at a set amount or for a specific child. Our more than 1,000 Place at the Table sponsors provide direct support for all our children, and that support goes to all the children, ensures we do not have to turn anyone away from the center. Participating at any level of our Place at the Table program makes a significant difference in the lives of these children. As stated, these funds are used to provide operational support for the room and board, education, and other direct needs of the Lingap children. Any excess funds in a given year are added to our endowment program that Dave Richmond will talk about next. And this endowment will help Lingap achieve the long-term sustainability for our mission, as mentioned by Brian a little earlier. People are inherently good and just want to know how they can help, but oftentimes are unsure the best way to help. And if people choose to provide financial assistance to a cause in which they believe, they often wonder how effectively and efficiently these funds are being utilized. On average, 67 cents of each dollar donated to a nonprofit goes directly to the cause, while 33 cents of each dollar is used to run the organization, things like management costs, marketing fees, and other administrative overhead items. And again, this is where Lingap is different and unique. The members of the board for Lingap pay for all of the administrative costs to run the nonprofit, so that 100% of every dollar you donate goes directly to the operating center and the caring for the children. A place at the table. I have personally had the great pleasure of sitting at those tables with the Lingap children and experiencing the miracle. To witness the impact on what love and caring for these children does to build them up from where they've been, and to then watch them love and care for one another, it is truly inspirational. I would like to thank you for your time today and invite you to be part of this miracle. Please visit our website at lingapcenter.org. You will see a blue button in the middle of the homepage that says Sponsorship. Remember that all donations to the center are tax deductible, and I thank you again for your time today. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Rick. As Rick said, the sponsorship program really is critical to our long-term sustainability. If you would be interested in participating in it, my son, Geoff, is going to be talking to you a little bit about our website and how to enroll in it in a few minutes, just in case you're interested. I would next like to introduce Dave Richmond, who will give you some information about our long-term investment program, again, so that we can ensure that the Lingap Project will go on forever. Dave?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for coming today. Thanks for being a part of this Lingap extravaganza today, where we can bring you up to speed on everything Lingap, whether you've been a new supporter or a long-term supporter. Again, we appreciate you being on the call. We appreciate your support. My name is David Richmond. I am a board member. I also serve the purpose of managing the investments for the board of directors. So let me give you a little history of where I've been and how I started. So I've been here nearly since the beginning. John gave me a call, a mutual third party introduced us that was mutual friends of ours. And we basically struck up a friendship that's now been a very good friendship for, I hate to say it, but going on nearly 2 decades. So it's been a great experience. I've been to the center over 25 times. It is an amazing, amazing place. Anything that you've heard, whether it is the miracle stories, the success stories, the struggles of having 100 kids. I have 2. That's struggle enough, let alone having 100. It's just an amazing place. To have the number of high school graduates, college graduates, people who have cosmetology degrees, welding degrees that are out serving the cruise ships and cargo ships and all kinds of things, let alone the nurses and doctors and everything else that we may have someday. So it's just been an amazing blessing in my life to be a part of this, to serve the board, to serve the kids, to get to know the kids and the board. There's a couple things that I would tell you that's very important to the board of directors and very important to John and Judy, and that is the issue of sustainability. It is the issue of making sure that a Drake, whether it's John or Judy or one of their kids someday, always has a seat at our board table. So there's steps that we've taken as a board to ensure that a Drake will always be involved, or that they can name somebody that they would like to be involved. Another thing that John's done a very good job of is not only recruit incredibly caring and deep-hearted people, but also that he has created skill sets and crafted skill sets of his different board members. So whether it's people who have run their own companies, people that are good in corporate governance and sat on corporate boards, whether it is people who have run educational institutions or taught in educational institutions, anything that has to do with taking a kid, raising a kid, and moving them forward, John has done an amazing job at crafting a board of directors who have those skill sets and can assist the foundation to move forward. The other thing is we need and have a goal to drive long-term savings with investments that can grow to provide the capital that we need to run the center over a long period of time. The board has decided that we want this to be perpetual, that you all believe it should be perpetual, and that the need is not going to be solved in any 10 or 20-year time frame. So we manage the money for a long-term perpetual existence, and that is something that we believe very much in. So if you believe in what we're doing, you believe in how we're doing it, and the amazing things that are being accomplished, we would just ask, continue to help us. We're nowhere close to our goal yet, but we are making progress. We're changing lives, making progress with the kids, with the employees, with the communities over there, and the community that is here to support the foundation now and well into the future. Thank you. We appreciate everything that you've done, and we ask for your continued support.
Thank you, David. David has had a huge impact on the future of the kids at the center. Thank you, Dave. Our Lingap choir is especially good, at least I think they are. During the pre-COVID days, they would sing at fiestas, funerals, weddings, other functions in town. They are the official choir at the church. In fact, in 2016, they were even invited to be part of the larger choir that sang at the International Eucharistic Congress, which was held in Cebu City that year. And they wanted to sing a song for you, so I'm going to ask them to do so right now. The song they selected seems to be kind of appropriate. You just listen to Dave and Rick and Brian talk about counting things, counting money, and how do we account for all of this stuff, and so on. So the song the kids chose to sing tonight is called The Counting Song. You might like to also know that they sing it in 6 different languages. So with that, I'd like to introduce the Lingap Children's Choir.
Cinco, seis, siete.
Thank you, kids. I absolutely love the choir. I really do. So thank you guys very much. And I think that was a very appropriate song for you to sing at this point. Now, if you would ever like to find out any more information about the Lingap Project, the best place for you to go would be our website. And on our website, you can find all sorts of information about us. You can find out, you could read the board directors' bios, you can read the history of the project, you could find all of my update letters. You can also find out information about how to sign up for sponsorships. You can do a great nonprofits review, or even check us out on Charity Navigator. So here to tell you a little bit more about how to navigate our website, I'd like to introduce my son, Geoff. So this is Geoff Drake. Take it away, Geoff.
Hi, I'm Geoff Drake. I'm John Drake's son. I've been working in IT for about 20 years, and I'm currently the IT manager for one of the largest heat treaters in the country. I manage the website for the Lingap Children's Foundation, as well as some of the online tools that we use to manage and communicate with our supporters. I thought I'd take this opportunity just to walk you through some of the features that we have available for those of you who haven't used them before. So I'm going to minimize myself here and show you our website. This is it. It's usually pretty easy to find. If you Google Lingap Center or go directly to our URL, lingapcenter.org, you'll land here. Just a few things to point out on the main website. Here in the center, we have a main information block. If we have something important to communicate with you, such as this virtual open house, many of you probably saw this information on your way here today. We've also communicated about natural disasters before. We've had typhoons go through the Philippines where we've wanted to give you status updates on the kids. Maybe it's COVID information, or maybe we just have another event that we want to share with you. This is where you'll find official announcements. In addition, we have the latest newsletter on the front page of the website. This is one of the primary reasons people come here. And as you all know, this is one of the ways that John communicates with our supporters. Most of you probably get this by mail, but if you don't, or if you've lost your copy, or if you're introducing somebody who's new to the Lingap Center to the organization, this is a great resource. It's always found right here on the front page of the website, but it also has archived copies. So if you click through to the full newsletter and just scroll down, you'll see we have all the newsletters archived back to the year 2000, when John first started working with kids in the Philippines. We also have some information here for folks that are definitely new to the organization. There's a video here where some of our supporters speak. There's a video here about the vision and mission statement that's really good for kids, as well as some information about the background, John's story, and a little bit of a photo archive. We also have information about the board of directors and those people that are behind the organization that are supporting you and supporting the kids. If you click the About Us tab, you'll see information about the board of directors. You've heard from a lot of these folks tonight, but for the board members you didn't get a chance to meet yet, you can read through and see their bios. In addition, the Filipino organization has their bios on here as well. So you can see all of the people that are working very hard to make sure this is a successful organization and that we're able to help as many kids as possible. The other thing I really wanted to call your attention to is our Promise to Donors letter. You can find that also in the About Us tab, Promise to Donors. If you haven't had a chance to read this letter yet, I strongly suggest that you do. And if you're introducing someone to the Lingap Center for the very first time, please encourage them to read this letter. As most of you know, 100% of all the donations that we receive go directly to the children. And we get asked all the time, how is that possible? Surely the organization has overhead. And the short answer is, of course, it does. And many of you have heard that the board of directors pays the overhead. And in fact, I've been at the board meetings where they tally up the overhead for the year and divide that up amongst themselves and actually pay it. It's pretty incredible. But this letter goes into great detail on what type of expenses the Lingap Center incurs, what we mean when we say we give 100% of the donations to the kids. It's really something that sets us apart from other organizations. So if you haven't had a chance to read this yet, I strongly encourage you to do that. I'm going to head back to the website, the front page of the website, and I wanted to show you one more thing on our website, which is how to manage your account. If you're a donor, you have an account with us, and you can help us by maintaining your own account information. One of the things that's a big challenge for our organization is maintaining credit card expirations. Now, as everybody knows, if you're a donor and you're using a credit card, eventually that will expire. Today, when that happens, we have to call you and ask for updated credit card information and see if you want to continue making the donation. But this is something you can update on your own. Or you can change the donation method to an e-check or ACH, which I'll talk about in a moment. So if you click this account login, you'll be brought to the login page. You probably already have an account if you are a Place at the Tables member. If the system emails you a receipt when your donation is made, then you have an account, and you can get a password for it simply by clicking this having trouble logging in and putting the email address that you get your receipt on in here. When you do, the system will email you, and that email looks a little bit like this. So it'll give you a hyperlink that you can click. When you do, you'll be brought to a page that looks like this. This one is for my personal account, but I could choose a password here and confirm it here and hit submit, and that will establish a password for my account. When I do, I actually land on this page here, and you'll see there's a menu that drops down. So if you want to maintain your credit card expiration, you can click the My Donation link and you'll be brought to this page. Here under Recurring Donation is information about the sponsorship that you make. As well, there's a history of all the transactions that have gone through. You can pull a receipt for each one of these, and you can see the complete history. So to update your credit card information, you would just hit the edit button here. And you'll be brought to a page where you'd be able to edit your credit card. Now, I don't use a credit card for my sponsorship. I use ACH e-check, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. That method allows the bank to draft directly out of my checking account. And I do that for two reasons. You can read in better detail in the Promise to Donors letter why we would suggest that you do that. But the two main reasons are there's no expiration date associated with this. So while I can shut this off at any time, I can log in here and cancel it, or you can call the Lingap Center and cancel it at any time. There's no expiration date for a credit card in here, so it avoids that overhead of having to contact somebody and update that information. The other reason is credit cards incur a transaction fee, and it's pretty small, but it does occur. So if you use an ACH transaction, all of the money that you intend for the Lingap Center to receive actually gets there. Where if you use a credit card donation, just a little bit gets skimmed off by the credit card company. So if you're updating credit card information, you can do that here. Or if you want to switch to an ACH method, from your My Donation page, you can delete an existing recurring donation amount and set up a new one by hitting Donate Now. If you do, you'll be asked what type of donation you want to make, and I'll just say I'm going to make $50 every month. I'm going to flag it as a Place at the Table sponsorship. And you can see here it prompts me for my payment information. You know, the default is credit card, but again, I would encourage you to click e-check. If you do, you'll be prompted for the routing number and account number for your bank. I already have one set up, so I'm just going to cancel out of this right now. All right, and finally, I just wanted to take you through a few other services that are available that are not really part of our website. Number one, if you aren't if you weren't familiar with it, we do have a Facebook presence. What's kind of nice about Facebook is we're able to update this a little more frequently with pictures and information about the sort of the social life that's going on at the center. So this can be a great way to connect with some of the activities over there. Also available from the website itself, we have a link to Great Nonprofits. Great Nonprofits is a website that allows people to review charities, much like you might review a product on Amazon. I really enjoy this because you can read through what people's experiences with the organization are, and we typically get pretty solid support from our constituents through this. I'd also ask you to go on here and please leave a review. It helps us grow the organization and grow our support base. And finally, I just wanted to talk a moment about Charity Navigator. If you haven't used Charity Navigator before, it's a great way to research a nonprofit, especially to make sure that the way they're going to use your funds is the way you would intend. So if you go to charitynavigator.org, you can search for the Lingap Children's Foundation, and you'll find us here. And you can go here and read for yourself what they have to say about us. But I would like to highlight that they give us a 100 score for finance and accountability, which we're very proud of. This is also a great resource if you're reviewing another nonprofit that you're thinking about supporting. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at this. That's all for me for today. I hope that you all will take the opportunity to visit our website if you haven't been there before, and hope that you found this useful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Geoff, very much. I appreciate it. You've been a tremendous help to us every step of the way. So thank you, Geoff. This really pretty much concludes our webinar. As I told you at the beginning, we were going to cover a lot of information. I tried to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the business side of running the Lingap Project. So I hope that you found it to be helpful. I hope you found it to be interesting and informative. The one thing that I would like to say in closing is that I really do consider this project to be a miracle. It is an absolute miracle. There's just no other way to even say it. But the real miracle behind this project is you. You are the ones who have made it all possible. The board and I can have all of the best ideas in the whole world, but if we didn't have the people like you behind us to make it happen, we would be nowhere. And so for that, I want to thank you. You folks really are the miracle of this project. Since we did cover a lot of detailed business information, and perhaps it went quickly and you couldn't get it down, this whole thing is being recorded, so you will be, and it'll be posted on our website probably sometime on Monday. So please feel free to visit us again, take a look at it. And with that, I'm going to say thank you all for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. But before I leave, the kids had one more thing they wanted to say to you. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye and turn it back to the kids. Thank you all.